Hello, hello. So, welcome to my first stream. Gonna be making some music. I put together on my Patreon, should be on my Patreon. I put together a quick poll, very last minute yesterday, asking people what they wanted me to write, and nobody answered because it was so late, so I decided I get to write whatever I want. I thought it would be fun to do a little bit of like hold music, so I can have a thing for this channel that is basically a placeholder, we'll be back soon sort of thing. So we're going to switch over to Sonar. So this is the program I use. It's called Sonar. I'm going to have to switch to something else because it's kind of been depreciated in effect. But for now I am still using it. People use all different kinds of programs. Eventually you may see me trying out Cubase or Reaper or Digital Performer. So if those are things that anybody wants to see, like in particular they're also interested stuff about those programs, let me know and I will prioritize them. But for now, let's get started. I'm going to start by loading up a sampler. So one thing that's really important is making templates. I think people hear about this, but they maybe don't think about it a whole lot, or they think about a template in terms of one master thing for everything, which is really intense. We're just going to make a small template, something that I can use when I start out these Patreon videos and make a new track. It just helps you do everything a lot faster if you have things set up already and you don't have to constantly redo work. So one thing that I really like to do, the way that I like to work, is to start with a piano sketch and just do everything in piano so I don't have to be distracted by problems with samples or other stuff or thinking about, oh, what sound do I really want this to have? I just want to think about the music. So let's load in Contact. Once I get Contact open, I'm going to pick out a piano. I like this one for no reason. Sometimes I pick different versions of the piano for no reason. I don't really feel a difference. I just like having a piano. So let's pick Upright with Overtones. I'm going to load. Let's minimize these so I know how many I've done. 2, 3, 4. Let's do 2 more. So I have 6 pianos, and in Sonar they're automatically assigned to channels. So this one's 1, this one's channel 2, so forth. So I know that it's already 1 through 6. So I'm going to close this and make some MIDI tracks. Oops, I meant to do insert multiple tracks. I don't want any audio. I want 5 more MIDI. So we'll do that. Name them. And it's also helpful to have them in a folder, so I'll make a new folder here, call this Sketch. So that's really it. That's all the template that I really need. Later on I might make one that has more electronic stuff if I feel like that's something I'm going to do a lot, or if I find there's a certain ensemble that I want to do a lot of, I will do that. Right now the game I'm working on has a very specific ensemble, so I made a template specifically for that project, and every time I write a new piece I just load up that template and get going. But in order for that to work, we have to save it. So I will do save as, go into my Patreon folder, call this Patreon template. Save that. Now I'm going to go back. This is the same thing. Okay. My trusty keyboard. So let's make sure this is actually making sound. One of these. And it is not. That's exciting. This is all part of the process. New devices. Okay, that's in there. Oh, I know why. I just skipped the most basic step in the world. I didn't actually assign those outputs into these tracks. So we'll do that now. 4, 5, 6. It's funny, this is one of those things that was like really hard when I first started figuring out all the little spots where you have to assign different stuff in order to make it work. I would say it's second nature now, but I obviously just forgot it. So let's see if that's working. Nope. Okay, there's still something wrong. We can check the inputs. We'll say all inputs MIDI Omni and get them all selected. Still nothing. So it's getting the input, but it's not making the sound. Oh, fun. I did another very basic thing. We have to make sure it's listening for contact, which is usually automatic. Let's try that. Nope. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to save this, close Sonar, open it again, see if that fixes things. Alright, I don't have waves, that's fine. Now we have nothing. It's not that one. Did I set this up wrong? I was talking to someone the other day about how nervous I was about my first stream and what if I do everything wrong? What if horrible, horrible things happen? So here we go. Okay, this is why. This is left over from a previous project I was working on. So there are two different ways that you can load samplers. One is as a simple instrument track, which will just load one instrument at a time basically, and it comes out on the track that loaded. So the track over here, I made this a simple instrument track by mistake. What I want is first synth audio output, and that allows me to output things to different MIDI tracks. So let's do that. Fantastic. Let's delete the one I messed up and move this up here. I knew something wasn't right. Still not that one. All right. Game manual says, "You got this, thank you." Here we go. Let's get the rest of them. Hopefully. Nope. Let's try adding a new MIDI track and see what's different about it. Nothing. Well, this is fun. So instead of spending the whole hour trying to figure out why this doesn't work, here's what we're going to do. No. I will open up a different template, which I don't actually use their template thing, so I just go to existing project. We're going to go to Wildermyth, which is the game I'm working on. The mix template, beta template. So we're going to load a whole bunch of stuff I don't need, but that's fine. We'll just get rid of it. So here you see my handy piano sketch. Let's see if this is making sound. Yes, it is. Fantastic. So we will delete all of this. Delete all tracks within the folder too. Yes. Delete. Yes. So I will figure out whatever was going wrong, and on the next stream I'll show you how to do it correctly. Delete track. Delete track. And this is the one with all my piano stuff. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Don't need you. I partially want to clean this up just so that it's pretty and clean, but also it frees up resources from my computer. So, all right. I think I just walked everybody through a whole bunch of early noob mistakes, which is hopefully also useful. Oh, crap. I just saved this all. I saved it as the Wildermyth template, which is the last thing I want to do. You know what, it's fine. I have this all backed up, so I'll just back it up later. Save as. We're going back to Patreon. Save this as Patreon template. Yes, replace that file. And we're also going to save as old music. Yes. Okay, so we are ready to start for real. All right, just because I'm paranoid, y'all can hear that, yeah? Yes. Yes. I'm going to take that as a yes. Great. It shows up in desktop audio, so I think we're good. So, like I said, I have an idea for this hold music. So let me think about first what tempo I want it to be. I have an idea for the beginning of the melody. So something like do, 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 do. So around here, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're gonna find that tempo. I'm gonna guess 160 to start. Slightly fast. I like that. I'm not mad at that. So we'll remember 158. And let's see. Let's find where we are. So we're in D. Okay, I'm gonna start recording at measure 3. So you never want to start recording at measure 1. Big reason being, if you record at measure 1, anything that hits just before the beat won't get picked up. It also feels really unnatural to have things start just very mechanically there. Sometimes you have to do it anyway, but you want to have control over that. So I start at measure 3. I like keeping odd measures odd and even measures even. I could start at measure 2 if I wanted to, but I won't. Okay, so we're starting at measure 3. Gonna record enable this track and bring the playhead back to measure 1 so that I have some count in. Practice this one more time. And I might have to slow it down, but we'll give it a shot. 2. Okay. Let's see how that turned out down in the MIDI here. That's not too bad. I have a little more latency than I'm used to with the setup so that OBS can hear the sound, but I think we're good. I'm going to quantize this a little bit. So quantizing is just lining things up with the grid, and you want to go by the smallest element you have. So down here you can see the smallest increment I've got are eighth notes. So I'll pick eighth note, and 100% will turn it into a robot. I like around 65. It just seems like a decent amount of cleanup, but still pretty human. So I'm going to do that. So you can see this just cleaned it up a little bit. One more time in case you missed it. I'll undo so you can see it's a little further off from things. I'll redo that. Okay. So we have one line. Zoom out of this a little bit. Then let's see, a response could start pretty similarly, but then a little bit of change. So the first time we had descending, now we have ascending there. So let's add that. And the way that I have Sonar set up, we won't hear any of this while I'm recording over the same track, so we'll just have silence. Okay, that looks alright, but I'm going to give it a little bit of cleanup. Alright, let's listen to what we've got so far. Okay, And even though I can't get distracted by different kinds of samples and stuff, I do get distracted by velocity. So down here you see where this says velocity. This is basically how hard did I hit the key on the keyboard. And I'm not a great pianist, so I always have to clean this stuff up. But I'm going to take that one down a little bit because it really stuck out to me. Listen to that one more time. Yeah, that's fine. Not mad at that. Oh, apologize for my runny nose. Okay, so now we have to think of the next thing that it's going to do. Let's see. So now I'm thinking I want the melody to go down a little bit, maybe a couple of times harmonically, and then find a way to lead back into the beginning, and it'll be a real short loop. So start with C. No, that's not too bad. So like that better. Let's see how that goes. Okay. You'll notice I record in chunks because I am a terrible piano player. So I basically have to learn something and keep it in short-term muscle memory for a minute, and then just get it out of the way and move on to the next thing. So, okay, we can do that. Okay. Again, always quantize a little bit. Sure, do that next. Okay, so sometimes this happens. I was a little too far off, and when I quantized it, it got in there. Let's turn snap off. I don't want it to snap. We'll just get it a little close to there. That's fine. Let's listen to everything together so far. Okay. We'll just bring it back up to the tonic. So now we need some sort of accompaniment to go along with it. And it wouldn't be hold music if it weren't it didn't have a little sort of dance to it, right? So think about the rhythm that I want on here. Okay, so I can use the same one through most of it, but we're going to have some variation in this little B section, which is fine. Let's take the keyboard down an octave. Okay, that's still interfering. Let's go down. Okay, that's probably just a bad harmonic choice. Let's think of something else. Let's try that. Yeah, okay, so let's like get that in there. Change which track is recording. Okay. Okay, I'm being very messy, so let's just undo that and try again. Let's see. That was okay. Let's give it one more try. That was much better. Okay, quantize it a little bit. Let's see. I think I can already tell where that went awry, which happens sometimes, and that's fine. But let's listen to it. Okay, so that one also. So that means I was basically hitting things a little too far ahead of the beat. Fix this one. Okay. But I have to figure that out still. Okay. Let's get that end part in since we know what we want already. Okay. Quantize that. That went well. Go back here. So we could do something like ba ba ta, 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 ba ba ta ta. Sure. Let's try that. Let's see how that goes. Okay. Learning my little part. maybe a little more dissonance than I want, but let's give it a shot. We'll listen to the whole thing through, and maybe we'll change it, maybe we won't. These ones I'm moving in advance because I can tell they're just a little too early. I don't want quantization to screw it up. Okay. Quantize that. Okay, so let's listen to this whole thing one more time. Zoom out a little bit so we can see it all. So I think I know what needs to change about this section. We just need to move a few notes around a little more. So let's lower this. Let's raise this to something. Oops, wrong mouse key. All right. Let's try that. I'm not mad at that. Okay. So we have a melody, we have a bass line, and we can have some fun with sounds. Let's minimize that for a second. Go over here. Let's play with Absinthe. And this, I do want to make a simple instrument track. That's the same reason I had it selected before. Absinthe is this awesome synthesizer that I really like, but you can only load one sound at a time, so there's no point in setting it up to output to multiple tracks. So what we want is some sort of synth lead. We'll narrow it down a little bit. I should warn you, sometimes Absinthe is loud. I try to be very careful about it, but every now and then some synth patches that people have made are just much louder than others. So you might want to turn your volume down a little bit. Just in case. I don't want to hurt anybody's ears. I don't know that I have a subtype that I care about. I'm gonna pick dry because some of the stuff in Absinthe is very, very wet. And dry versus wet is just about reverb. Dry has no reverb basically. Wet is a lot of reverb. Let's see what big, bright polysynth sounds like. No. Actually, I'm gonna say mono lead. see if that makes a difference. Arcadia. That has an interesting quality to it. Okay. So a lot of Absinthe is also very like sci-fi, which is awesome, but sometimes not the thing you're looking for. Let's try monophonic. See what happens with that. Basic resolute. No. This is how I spend a lot of my time actually when I do electronic music. I just sit and play with different sounds. Mother whale eyeless. Let's find out what that sounds like. What is an eyeless mother whale? I am not mad at that actually. Think about that one. I think I've used this before. Let's try Sweet Leader. I'm gonna say no. Smoothie. Start with Smoothie Lead. I'm going to rename this so in case we lose it, we can find it again. And I'm going to take, first of all, what I'm going to do to make my life easier is select all of those and say bounce to clip, because that turns it all into one long thing. I'm going to do the same thing with our bass line. Bounce to clip. Okay. Now I do want to snap so that I get things lined up. Copy that down. Sometimes I get very destructive about my piano stuff and I just drag it right into things. Going to be a little nicer this time and copy paste. Mute the piano so that we don't hear that, we just hear so that's the sound. I'm not totally keen on it. Let's see what we can do with it. Just change some things around. So right now I'm just playing with different settings that are in here, different types of synthesis settings. I think I might actually change what wave they're using. Let's see what happens when we use a sine. So a sine wave is just a pure like beep sort of noise. Can also be very boring, but I think it's more in the direction of where I want to go. That's interesting. So we've got some wah, wah, wah happening. I wonder if I change this to single, if that goes away, or if it's part of, maybe part of that. Let's turn this off. Okay, so we know it's not that. We know it's not this. This is actually still playing, it's just very, very quiet. And the reason it's quiet is it's got a low pass filter over here of negative 24 decibels. So let's change that to negative 6 and see how that affects the sound. Oh, we seem to have lost this thing entirely. Okay, so let's reload the sound. Okay. Go to a sine wave and negative 6. It's okay. Let's see. This might be an opportunity, not AS, AAS. Nope. Let's find this. Oh, it's possible that I actually don't have AAS installed on here, which is too bad. They have some interesting stuff. Let's try one more tactic before we give up on Absinthe, because I feel like there are good things in here. Let's try guitar. Clean E guitar. Oh, there's only one. Okay, how's that sound? Nope. That is not what we want. Digital guitar. Let's try mallet synth. Nope. Okay, let's give up on Absinthe for now. One more to try. See what they've got for flute instruments. Peppermint pad. Let's see what that is. Nope. Sand flute. Spring flute. The old man's flute. Whistle. Okay, I'm gonna give up on Absinthe. I think we're gonna find a lot of junk right now. So instead, I'm gonna find something just so that we can get a little further along in this composition tonight. And I'll do some more soul searching for sounds later on by myself. Start by adding the enemy of all composers, play. Remember to make it a first synth audio output. Move this up to the samplers folder and make a MIDI track. One. I keep opening that one by accident. Pick play out of that list. to go to the browser. I have a lot of libraries here. I don't want the nicest flute. We're going to go to Goliath, which is a collection of older things. Orchestra, flute, vibrato, legato. Okay, that'll work for now. And here we have to assign channels. It assigns everything to Omni by default, which is not helpful. Now we'll just move this down. And let's get rid of this. Plate track. So the first thing you notice is that this is really low for a flute. So let's drag it up an octave. Yes, this is why you learn sound design. I've done a little bit of playing with synths and I have a lot of fun with it, but it's one of those things you just need a lot of practice at, and I'm way more practiced at being a composer than being a sound designer. And when you're alone, by yourself, not streaming, it's a lot less embarrassing to and a lot more fun to spend a lot of time just like tweaking and messing around. Yeah, it's good. Okay, so we've got that. Let's do something with the bass line that we wrote. Put in a new MIDI track. I'm going to call this flute. What do I want for that? We're going to use something from East West again, so maybe an electric piano. What's the psychedelic roads sound like? I want to add. It's a little too churchy for my taste. Let's try this one. Place current. Oh, this is, the question is, what DAW is this? I am working in Sonar. Sonar is not the most popular, but I think it's pretty great. Unfortunately, BandLab, so it's made by Cakewalk, but BandLab bought them out and they have turned it into a free program with far fewer features, which is very, very sad. So I have the last like pro version and they're never going to update it again. And I'm using it until I'm done with a major project, and then I'm going to switch either to Digital Performer, Cubase, or Reaper. So I'm going to be trying out those three. And I said this at the very, very top of the stream, but if there's any one of those three that people are most interested in seeing because they're also curious about them, then I will prioritize those and try to use it on the stream and embarrass myself by not knowing how to use them sometimes. Question is, why not Ableton or Fruity Loop Studio? Ableton is just made for other purposes. I mean, I could use it, but it's most useful for like stuff where you load a bunch of little sections of things and turn stuff on and off. I'm being very wishy-washy about how I'm saying it because I don't really know it that well, but my impression is that Ableton is not really for people writing linear music as much as people trying to trigger things as they go on the fly, and that it's really good for people who do live performance with electronics, less good for people who are doing static recorded music. Fruity Loop Studio, I just not terribly interested in it, I guess. It still has a sort of connotation of not being professional, even though I think that's probably changed quite a bit over the years. It's sort of like, in my brain anyway, it's like the GarageBand for PC. And people doing professional work aren't really using GarageBand, they're using Logic. So, I mean, if you're on a Mac, that's a really popular one. So, that is why not those. Yeah, that's fair. The comment is, yeah, I think you can pretty much make anything sound professional with whatever DAW. If you know what you're doing in the program, then yeah, pretty much. It comes down to like what nitty-gritty features you want, and also how the support is. Like, one of the reasons I love Sonar so much is that the community is really, really great, and whenever I have an issue and I post in the forums, there are lots of people ready and happy to help, and I get a great answer within 24 hours. So I've always loved that. So I'll have to see what things are like for the other programs, but yeah. All right, so let's see. Oh, I already loaded it. Yes, this is a sound I want. All right. So let's open up that sketch. Here we go. That's what I meant to do. Of course, it's off by just a little bit because I have Snap on. Nudge that a little bit. Okay. So let's see, assign this to play. All right, so we have a melody, we have a bass line, we have a couple of sort of sounds to get us started. Not quite as far as I was hoping to get tonight, but it seems like a really good stopping point. I'm curious if, it's about to drag the chat over, if anybody else has any questions that I can answer while we're here tonight. Yes, no, maybe? Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for watching the stream. I'm glad to have some people here keeping me company. Oh, okay. See you. Have a good night, everybody. I guess we'll end it there. Thank you so much for coming. Oh, before we go, I can't forget. I have to say a very special thank you to my first Patreon subscribers. So thank you, Megan. Thank you, Michaela. Thank you, Chris, who's here. Thank you, Tani. Thank you, Ashley. And thank you, Tara. And thank you to all of you for watching. I really appreciate it. And these will only get better as they go along and as I learn what I am doing. So I appreciate the support. All right, have a great night, everybody.